everyone, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. I'm your host, Chris Randazzo, and I'm joined today as sex pest in a wheelchair, Paul Giroux.
No, just no. I've got nothing witty to say about this. No.
And the biggest line of coke you've ever seen, Sean Doyle.
I'm a beautiful damn man!
This month's letter was M, and we went with Sean's pick, which we will be blaming his brother-in-law Keith for. Modern problems. Is this better or worse than Zapped? Let's find out. But first, how you guys doing?
Well, we watched this movie last night, or maybe the night before.
It was the night before, yeah.
Time has lost all meaning. I did go to Witchcraft, as I do annually. This is like the third or fourth one since we've done this podcast. I feel like it's been going on a while.
Yeah, how was Witchcraft?
It was great. It was a good time. Had by all. Went there. Nothing super crazy to report, though. Usually, there's like a pie eating contest or a scream contest or Dante's there. Just drunk in the woods. I put together a fairly good Ash costume at the last minute.
That's
Pretty proud of that, and that's somewhat movie related. It occurred to me that I didn't have a costume at the last minute, and I was like, oh, I was supposed to have a costume. So then I stopped, and I bought brown pants and a blue shirt, and I was like, oh, my dog blanket is great. It kind of looks like the cape. I was like, if I just had a chainsaw, and I stopped at a Halloween store and bought a chainsaw, and I was like, you know what I have in my basement is I have Ash action figures that I can glue to my body because he gets attacked by the guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I did that.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, the costume came together. It was all right. It was pretty good. Proud of myself. And then it just so happens that I'm old, but not too old. So I have the right amount of gray hair. Like when I did my hair, like his, it was like, yeah, this is right. I got some gray on the sides, not a lot of gray on top. It was kind of lined up just about perfect.
Nice.
I am going to be, tomorrow is the kids' trunk or treat, and I'm dressing as Alec Baldwin's character from Beetlejuice. So basically, I just got a white plaid shirt and khakis, and that's my costume.
If you're going to half-ass it, if you're going to, go all out, you need to, pull your face, over your face and, stick your eyeballs out your mouth.
Well, those masks exist, and they're not terribly expensive, but I'm going to half-ass it. Really, my plan going forward was to just try and be really low-effort costumes that made people laugh. Last year, I stole Greg's witch doctor. I just put a witch's hat and a doctor's coat on, and told everyone I was a witch doctor, and I was going to reuse an old one that I did years ago, where I had a T-shirt that said "Ceilings are number one" on it. I got a big foam finger and told everyone I was a ceiling fan. So that was going to be my thing going forward, low effort, high cleverness and costumes. And but then they were all doing a Tim Burton themed trunk for their trunk or treat, and I was like, yeah, I can get on that with low effort. Let's do it.
This is movie related and Alec Baldwin. Well, I guess Beetlejuice related. Did you guys see Beetlejuice?
I did.
No, I didn't. Was it good?
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
It looked like it was good.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was quite as good as the first one in some ways, but it was also. It was very similar to the first one, and whereas in the stuff before Beetlejuice shows up is fine, and then it gets better once he's involved, and the visual effects were really cool and very physical and as little CG as possible. The open-ended ending was pretty disturbing, but not necessarily in a bad way. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought that Michael Keaton's a fucking treasure.
Yeah.
God damn, he's wonderful.
But you just compared it to the first one and said, well, it might not be as good as the first one. If it's anywhere in the same ballpark, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I love the first one.
Definitely in the same. We just watched the first one with the kids on Friday, and they both really liked it, and they're really excited to see the second one. And I hadn't seen the first one in, I don't know, maybe a year or two. I hadn't been that long, but seeing the first one again, thought that was it put some perspective on the second one, just as far as structurally concerned. I thought the second one was great.
Yeah, I think there was no real way to like fully recapture the magic of the first one, you know, like
Right.
it sort of stands alone as a weird yet very enjoyable piece of art. But I feel like this thing made all the right choices to sort of like, you know, tell its own story and let the weird stuff kind of evolve out of it. And I like, you know, I like some of the callbacks to the first one, just in terms of like tone and things like that. You know, like this isn't this isn't ruining it for anyone, but there was a funeral in this second one, and the sort of like funeral processional, like the choir singing they were singing the Harry Belafonte Banana Song, you know, so like they weren't trying to recapture that magic of that moment, but it was like a nice callback to it, and it was over the top and silly enough that you were like, all right, like I needed that, like I could use that, you know.
And this one had its own, well, here's just a really random song that's going to be a big part of this movie. Like, it had its own thing, because the Harry Belafonte being a big part of the original Beetlejuice is freaking weird.
Yeah.
And the music choice in this one that also just happened to be really integral to the proceedings was like, yeah, okay, that tracks. I don't get it, but I'm glad it's here. Let's do it. Crack me up.
And you know, there was people from that first one that weren't with us anymore. The guy that was the father, that actor passed away. The Otto, you know, there was a couple people that, you know, passed away between the two movies, but I think with the people that they had and the ideas, you know, I mean, I think they told the best story they could. I think it's hard to make a sequel to Beetlejuice, but I think this was pretty good.
I'm hold on a second. Hold on a sec. So Jeffrey Jones isn't dead.
No, he's
I
not.
was gonna say, I didn't know that guy was dead.
No.
Stop telling me when people die.
He's I think he's in jail.
Oh, he just
He's a sex pest. He's a let's see, Wikipedia. Jones was arrested in 2002 for possession of child abuse material and soliciting a 14-year-old boy. Yeah, no, he's a bad man.
Oh,
he's a very bad man.
Well, that's why he's not in the movie.
Exactly, but his character is, and I thought they handled that very, very well.
I agree.
And they did it differently than I expected. I expected them to just like really, really meanly like kill him over and over again, just do something absolutely horrible to him. But they didn't ruin his character, which I thought was really well done. I was very, very, very happy about that.
Yeah.
I did think it was strange that the two main characters of the first movie are just not a part of the sequel at all. I did think that was kind of weird.
Yeah, but I thought about that, and like I think this thing made a better choice. Like that story was told, right? Like Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, those two characters in the movie died. They were in their afterlife. They were confused about their afterlife. Their thing was resolved. They moved on. Like I think by bringing them back, it would have made the movie muddy. I think this thing did a good job in, finding a new story to tell.
I agree that it did a good job of finding a new story to tell. It's just that they are the central focal point of the first movie, even more so than the title character, Beetlejuice. So them not being there at all, even in a cameo, like just absolutely nothing at all, except for a quick offhand, they figured it out, they're gone now. Like it felt a little jarring to me. Because it seems like one of those things that if you're going to make a sequel to Beetlejuice, how do you do that almost completely ignoring the main characters of the first one? And I think they did about as good of a job as you could possibly do with that exact scenario. I just don't know that it was necessarily necessary to completely ignore them to the extent that they did. Like, if there was maybe one quick scene where somebody asked them, like, got in touch with them to ask them for advice or something, just anything more than, died off screen, for lack of a better terminology, I think would have been something. But then again, they did seem to set it up pretty hard for a threequel, so maybe something will happen then.
Oh, and
I
then
don't
they
know.
can call that Beetlejuice.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else would they call it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't bother me that the two of them weren't in it. I think some of the people that they did pull into it were great. I thought Willem Dafoe was super funny.
Oh my god, he was great.
What was this?
And
the
then
Danny DeVito cameo in the beginning was pretty nice.
That was strange, but it was. I mean, I guess I feel like Tim Burton was like, "Hey, Danny, like, what are you doing? Like, you want to be in my movie?"
He's like, "Whatever the fuck you want."
Yeah. And then I have to say, Catherine O'Hara stole the show hands down.
Oh,
like,
she's magnificent.
absolutely brilliant.
She was magnificent. And you know what? It definitely it zigged when I thought it was going to zag. I thought I had it figured out a couple of times. I was like, I know exactly where this is going. Okay, movie, let's get there. And then they wouldn't do that thing. And I'd be like, oh, that is not what I expected to happen. Good job, movie. I just, and like the villain character was not necessarily a throwaway. Like, that was it was just like this extra force that kind of united the things going. I thought it was a very well done movie. I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, agreed.
So without knowing, and you don't have to spoil it or anything, without knowing how they deal with the Catherine O'Hara's husband being a different actor, I'm assuming he's a different actor, but based on what you said, whatever. They deal with that guy not being there in some way, right?
So
they do deal with it in some way.
Okay. Let me say this, Sean. You know how in Beetlejuice, characters end up in the afterworld thing, and you see the range of people and characters that populate that afterworld, and sometimes they're missing parts, or they're green, or they're upside down, or however they died.
Right.
That plays into it a little bit. They did some real creative special effects.
Yes, indeed. Right. Well done.
That was brilliant. I did see. I assume you both saw this. I saw a preview. I try not to watch too many previews for the upcoming Captain America movie. Did you catch the line from Harrison Ford?
Where he's just like, they made me shave my mustache if I wanted to win the election.
Says, yeah, he's like, you look different or something. He's like, yeah, they made me shave my mustache, and like, I don't know, it's pretty. I like that. It's, the actor died. You gotta roll with it.
It's right up there with Don Cheadle and Iron Man 2 walking with us. It's me. I'm here. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's a very Marvel thing to do. They draw attention to it in a jokey way, and then they move on. Yeah, like I was literally going to say that same thing, the Iron Man 2 thing. Like, I think that's really the only other precedent for a recasting this big. I mean, there's been other ones, but like
Ed Norton to
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, they
didn't really mention that.
But they've made that joke a couple times, like in the She-Hulk show. Like, at one point he goes like, "I was a different guy back then." Literally.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. Oh my god! Not to change the subject too abruptly, but have you guys been watching Agatha all along?
I haven't, because I can't deal with. I'm spoiled because I don't watch regular TV anymore, and I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna wait till it's all aired. Is it all aired yet? It's still got to.
No, it's still airing.
Because then I'm gonna catch up, and I'm gonna want to watch another episode. And it won't be there, and I'll just be like, damn it. So just wait till it's all out.
I've been watching it, and I don't love it, and I'm not sure why. Like,
I'm not sure why either. I love it.
I literally do not know what it is. Like, I think it's a great cast. I think they're doing really funny, interesting stuff. there's other shows that follow a similar format that try to sort of wow you with different things each week, and I like those shows. I do not know what it is about this show that I'm not keying into.
I'm finding it utterly fascinating thus far, and Aubrey Plaza is fantastic, and I'm very curious who she actually is.
So I really like her too, and I just started watching. I just finished season 1. There's only 3 seasons of Legion. Did you watch Legion when it aired?
Oh,
I can't remember if I watched all of Legion, but I definitely saw at least some of it. That show was wacky.
Yeah, it was
she's in that, and she's great in there.
Yeah, she was really good in that.
I'm enjoying it so far, but part of me is a little hesitant, like they're just going to dick me around, like, because that is a show that is not spoon feeding you. Like, there's lots of shit happening where you're just like, am I on an acid trip? What's going on? Where's the plot? Like, they're not just handing you a plot. You've got to work for it a little bit, which is fine. But at some point, you have to pull it all together. And I'm starting to worry that they're not gonna. Like, there's just some bits that are hanging, and I'm like, you're gonna put this together, right?
I'm not sure what to tell you. I watched some of it, but I think it was the same thing. I think I never finished it. And I think it's because I was watching it when it was airing, and then, I don't know, I moved, or TV, lost that channel. I have no idea what it was, but for some reason I never got back into it. So I don't know I don't know where it goes.
Yeah, I just started season 2, and I'm pretty optimistic. I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping this is we're gonna pull it all together, and it's gonna be great, because I'm liking the ride so far.
Yeah, that's good. I'm kind of bummed you're not loving Agatha as much as me. Karen and I are just loving this show. I think it's really fun.
It's definitely my fault. Like, it's not it's not the show's fault. I think there's a lot of cool stuff about the show, and by all intents and purposes, with other things that are similar that I like, I feel like this is trying to hit those same notes. So,
do they have it lined up to finish before Halloween? Can I watch the whole thing leading into Halloween?
I want to say yes. Let's double check on that.
Because if they stretch it into November, I think that's a mistake. You got a show about witches.
No,
in October.
I'm pretty sure it's wrapping up right around Halloween.
That's the way to do
it. Be sure. Let's see here. 6 out of 9 just aired, I think.
It's kind of close.
6 is the most current one, and it's only a 9-episode season, so it might end right after Halloween.
Right.
Oh no! It looks like the episode 7 is next week, and then 8 and 9 are the following week. So I think we're gonna do a 2-part finale thing.
All right, that's a good move.
Yeah, because Halloween is a Thursday, and I think this show airs on Wednesdays. So.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday show.
Brilliant. Good for them. Way to line it up.
Yeah.
Good times, great oldies.
And while we're on Marvel, I did see Deadpool 3. Did that...
Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah, sure. Was that before... Did we talk about that?
I don't know.
On the last podcast? That's a movie.
I can't remember if we did.
This is a movie
I also
podcast.
rather enjoyed that one.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't know what... I don't know. I can't imagine somebody not enjoying that. Like, if you liked the first 2, they did a whole bunch more of the same. And it was... a little bit of fan service in there and a couple things.
My dad didn't like it because he didn't understand, like, he didn't get any of the comic book references. So he was like, I loved the first one because it didn't rely too much on comic book references. And then this one, it was like, he was watching it and said, I know this is funny to a lot of people, but I don't know anything about Wolverine, so I'm out.
What?
I was like, all right, I can respect that.
What didn't he get?
Like when he's traveling through all the dimensions, and like, why is there a tiny one, and what's the deal with the Cavalrine? Like, he didn't find any of that stuff funny. He just didn't get it. He just kind of tagged
jokes
out.
Just right.
I mean, I thought the best part of that movie was the cameos. I mean, I wouldn't even call them cameos because some of them were downright like
integral characters.
But how they used Deadpool being put into the MCU to like then tie in all that other Fox and some of it not Fox, right? Like the old like Daredevil and Elektra and Blade. Like some of that stuff was
Daredevil was Fox. I don't remember if Blade was 20th Century Fox.
You know what else they tied? So one that I thought I caught all the references, but I was, I had YouTube on in the background, and there was something like, did you catch all of the, the whatever call it cameos in Deadpool? And it went through them all, and I did catch them all. And one that one I thought I caught, and I was like, why is Shatterstar in this room? Wasn't he killed in the last one? And they pointed that one out, and they were like, yep, that's the same actor. It's definitely Shatterstar. We don't know either. So they were like, maybe he saved him off screen when he went back in time. I don't know. I don't like that because now I'm writing the movie. I don't want to write the movie. You have to write the movie, and then I watch the movie. That's the deal we make. That's why I give you the $10. But the one I did miss entirely was apparently one of the bad guys was supposed to be the bad guy from the Thomas Jane Punisher movie.
The Jigsaw, right?
No, not Jigsaw. The other bad guy is like a big, I think they call him like the Russian or something.
Oh, yeah. The guy, yeah, I remember.
In the
exactly
red and
what you're
white
talking about.
striped shirt.
I looked at him and said, I'm clearly supposed to know who this is, but I have no idea who this is.
I missed that reference too. The internet had to help me with that one. It was a great fight scene in the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, which wasn't terrible. It was a fine Punisher movie. And that was a great fight scene, but I missed that reference.
Gambit thing made me so happy. I really, really sincerely hope with all of my might that they don't give him that role ever again. Because he was great. Channing Tatum as a comedic, over-the-top Gambit in that exact movie and scenario is perfect. But anything beyond that...
Was he supposed to be cast as Gambit at some point?
Yes, that was a whole ass thing. He was officially cast as Gambit. They were going to make this movie for years and years and years and years, and it eventually fell apart. And when Ryan Reynolds approached him about playing Gambit in this movie, he lost his mind. Like, oh, thank God, finally I can do this, because he loves the character. But I mean, playing him as a joke was the right way to do it. When he as soon as I saw the playing card come through, I said out loud in the theater, like, please be Channing Tatum, and it was, and I cracked up. But any talk of him going further than that is just not a great idea.
Something about he's too big. First,
yeah, he's not right for that role, and he was right for that role in that movie as just the comedy of him not being able to understand anything he was saying. And God, the fight scene was so good. I loved watching him just blowing people up with the Gambit's my favorite X-Men character, so that was great. But I would love to see, like, you got to have somebody much younger and lankier, right? He's got
to be more slender.
Yeah,
right.
He's got to be more slender overall. Like, I just don't think he's right for the role. I do really like where they ended with because I'm kind of hoping that in the MCU, Laura gets to be Wolverine, because she's Wolverine in the comics currently. And there was a run, I mean, I want to say probably like 10 years ago, where they pulled Old Man Logan into the regular Marvel universe, and like he was there and Laura was Wolverine. I like that dynamic. Like, what does he say? Until you're 90? Like, sure, let him continue to be this old man Wolverine that kind of like helps out from time to time, and let Laura be on this new Avengers team they seem to be building as the current Wolverine, because she's amazing. I thought she was amazing on the Star Wars Acolyte show. I think she's great, and she really does fight scenes very well. So I say go for it. I like her a lot.
Yeah, they really they did a great job with it. I felt like there was one or two points they could have pushed the envelope a little more to bring the whole thing together, like universe-wise. And that's been in a couple movies now. There's been like 2 or 3 movies where I thought they were setting themselves up to like kind of collapse everything down and unify, and they just keep not doing it. They go, nope, we got a different plan.
That does seem to be what I think the general consensus is. That's what Secret Wars is going to ultimately do. I just wish they'd hurry up and fucking do it, because I'm so over multiverse stuff. I just want to see it all wrap up. I'm not thrilled with Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. I'm not thrilled with them seemingly just abandoning the Kang stuff entirely. Like, if there was ever a character that you could very easily recast with anyone, it's frickin' Kang. But
yeah, I don't love my gut reaction to the Robert Downey Jr. thing is negative, but I don't know if they come up with, I don't know. I assume they're not just ignoring it. They're not just going to have him being Doctor Doom as well. I assume there's going to be, I don't know.
Like, is he going to be a Stark variant, or is he even going to be the real Doctor Doom going forward? Is this all some weird bait and switch? Because, like, this is Marvel. They do this kind of shit all the time. They release fake scenes in their trailers for, like, Endgame and stuff just to throw people off the scent. Like, I trust them. They haven't let me down yet. I know this current phase hasn't been quite as good as the other stuff, but still, I've genuinely enjoyed everything I've seen so far. Secret Invasion probably being the closest I've ever come to being like, well, I don't know. I don't think you did this one very well. But outside of that, I've genuinely enjoyed everything that is officially tied to the MCU. So they have my trust. I just, Doctor Doom is such a character. You know, he's such a big personality, and
my favorite villain.
Robert Downey Jr.'s not young. And I get wanting to throw something out for people to guarantee some sort of big return to movie theater seats and get all that money back. But I don't know that casting RDJ is someone as important and pivotal as Doctor Doom is the right thing to do. Just like I think it is a little weird that they wound up casting Mandalorian. I can't remember. Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic. That also seems a little weird to me.
Why?
He seems a little.
He's too old.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great. I think he's great in everything. I love him in all sorts of stuff. I just, when I think Mr. Fantastic, that's just not the person I think. But again, I didn't think Heath Ledger was going to be a very good Joker, so I know that I am frequently wrong when it comes to this stuff. I'm looking forward to that movie proving me very wrong. I hope they do it right.
I'll reserve judgment until I see him do it. I don't know. I'm done with the multiverse stuff too. I wish they'd move on. And maybe in some ways they are. Like, maybe they're, using it to do jokey stuff like this Wolverine and Deadpool movie, and they're starting to focus on other things. I'm not really sure. I do think they're kind of done with the Kang thing. Like, it's, I don't know. I guess it kind of sucks a little bit, but like, I don't think it was just that he got arrested or, that he got convicted. I think it was like, people just weren't into it. Like that Ant-Man and Wasp movie or Ant-Man Quantumania didn't do as well as they wanted it to. And I think it was a bunch of stuff that made them, and that's probably why they did this extreme move where they're like, we're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back, like, they're like, what are people going to get amped about? But I don't know. I mean,
I get that.
Could be great or it could not. I don't know. We'll see.
I hate seeing that thread wide open like that. Like, they committed to this and they're like, this is your next big bad. And now they're just going to be like, are we going to get any resolution to any of the stuff that they left wide open? Like, I would be kind of disappointed if we didn't, but they're never going to get everything perfect. And ever since Endgame, they have been creating a lot of open threads. Way too many to ever properly tie them all up. Like, if I don't get Roy Kent as Hercules in a proper Thor movie, I'm going to be pretty upset, because you don't drop that on my lap and then don't do anything with it. But who the hell knows if we're even going to get another Thor movie at this point? Like, I got questions. I don't like open threads like that. I don't like it. It stinks, and I don't like it.
No, sir. I don't like it.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I really think they needed an exit strategy. Like it made sense. It made sense that Endgame wasn't the end, because people were so excited about it. It felt more like more like the middle, It felt more like this was the peak, and they used that momentum to springboard into the Disney Plus shows, where they could sort of tell stories in a different way, and where they, did some individual like focus on some, like they did that Black Widow thing, which was kind of more like a flashback movie. Like I think it was the opportunity to do some cool stuff, and I think I'm behind all the choices that they made. But like they needed to strategize an ending. Like if Endgame was the middle, then like they needed to be working towards what was the end, and then like end it, because like you're just not gonna have the momentum of this being amazing for the next 10 years. Like it's kind of crazy that it's been amazing for this long.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. That's the thing. There's so many more stories to tell, and that they basically killed off Cap and Iron Man. Like all their heavy hitters have kind of sort of moved on, and I'm interested in a Young Avengers movie. Like I think once Kamala Khan met what's her name from Hawkeye, it's like, yeah, I definitely want to watch those two interact with each other. Like I'm super interested in Thunderbolts. I think that looks really, really interesting. I like this whole idea of what happens next, and I like that they're not necessarily relying entirely on what happened in the past. Like moving forward is a good thing, but I don't know. The Robert Downey Jr. thing really put me on my nerves, I guess. Just didn't really.
The Young Avengers thing, they got to get on with it, because they've introduced so many kids that are in place to be on this Young Avengers team, but like those kids are freaking aging, man. This is the really real world.
They're not
Years
going to
go
be all
by
that
before
young.
they do anything else.
Like that the kid we saw at the end of the Endgame, the Iron Man death scene, like he's barely a kid anymore.
I didn't even recognize him.
If we wait another 5 years, he's not a Young Avenger. He's just an adult.
Yeah.
Like
Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, and Cassie Lang. I thought she was really good in Quantumania. I freaking love Quantumania. I was so surprised that everybody hated that movie.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Oh, they did MODOK so dirty." Like, what is wrong with you?
What were you gonna do? That was one of the reasons I loved it. I'm a big MODOK fan. That's not a character I ever thought I would see them get up on the big screen. They gave me MODOK.
I thought that was hysterical.
They gave me MODOK.
I'm such a dick.
I'm such a dick.
God, that was so good. Oh, I love that movie.
So Dr. Doom's my favorite villain of all time, but I'm a big fan of Ego and MODOK. They're just ridiculous. They got coffee cups and whatnot. They managed to bring both of them to life, and I think did both of them just fine.
I heartily agree.
Couldn't believe either one of them got to the big screen.
I kind of felt the same. Not like he's my favorite villain, but I kind of felt the same thing about Arnim Zola. Like when we were doing our MCU watched it with the kids. After the movie was over, I showed them a picture of what comic book Arnim Zola looked like, and then how they kind of made that computer room in Winter Soldier, like the screen with the little camera on top, like that kind of is a nod to his original look. When I showed them the drawing of Arnim Zola, they were like, "What is that?
What am I looking at?"
It's like, wait till I show you MODOK, kids.
It's awesome.
Good times. And that's the MCU cast for the month.
Yeah, I mean, we could keep talking about the MCU and just not
forever.
Just not talk about modern
problems.
Surprisingly enough, Modern Problems is part of the MCU.
Stupidest superhero origin of all time.
All right, so
Jill Carter is going to be in Secret Wars as her character in this movie.
Wait,
is that actress's name? Or is that her name on that TV show?
Are we doing it? Are we moving on to Modern Problems?
Does anyone else have anything else they need to discuss before we get to Modern Problems?
Not really. I mean, look, if I'm going to close up your conversation about Halloween and then also the MCU and just things and how things are going. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to be for Halloween. I think I kind of want to be Zoidberg. Because I found these like lobster claws and like this weird like Zoidbergy looking mask online, and so like I was like, I might do that. But then like kind of always wanted to be MCU character, and now it's great that in Endgame Thor was fat because like now I could be Thor if I wanted to. So like I don't know, I might be Thor. I'm not sure. But then you're kind of like part Thor, part Big Lebowski. So I don't know. We'll see. But the other thing just in terms of anybody that's invested in the crap that we talked about last time, Sean, I got your iPod right next to me here, that I built, but I gotta crack it back open again and go back in. It's being a battery vampire. So, but I think I know how to fix it. So it's kind of good that I still have it.
All right. Oh yeah. I'll we'll hook up, trade music, live the dream.
Yeah.
If you could also add a flamethrower, that would be awesome. I would love it if it also shot flames.
Okay. Well, while I have it open, I'll try to.
While you have it open.
In. Yeah.
I mean, if not, no worries. I'll just stick one on the outside.
I should write that in the like Facebook group that I'm in, where people are all like, "Look at the one I modded." Like, I should put a picture and be like, "This one's got a flamethrower and it makes Oreo cookies."
Okay.
All right, modern problems. I can't fit my flamethrower in my iPod. That's a modern problem.
That is a modern problem. I don't know if it's a modern problem. It might be like a 10 years ago problem, and it's just modern to us.
Modern Problems was released in theaters. Cannot believe this. On December 25th, 1981.
Merry Christmas!
And was distributed by 20th Century Fox. It was directed by Ken Shapiro, whose only other directorial works are 1974's The Groove Tube, 1968's Singing Faces, and the 1971 short Evening News. He was also a writer on this movie alongside Tom Sherriman and Arthur Sellers. Sherriman's other works include New Magic, Rocky Road, and the movie adaptation of Mr. Magoo, while Sellers' other works include various TV show episodes of Earth 2, Jungle Clubs, and Max Headroom. The movie stars Chevy Chase, Patty D'Arbanville, Mary Kay Place, Brian Doyle Murray, Nell Carter, and Dabney Coleman. It tells the story of an overly jealous air traffic controller who gets showered with nuclear waste and gains telekinetic powers, which he uses in increasingly disturbing and petty ways to make everyone around him, including the movie's audience, as miserable as possible. Just so you know, this movie, the poster has a tagline, quote, "Chevy has the power to make this holiday season the funniest ever."
Oh, God. And he failed. He
had the power, he didn't use it.
Yeah.
It's funny that if you were to just say that tagline, you would think, well, that's a great tagline for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Right.
It's accurate, and arguably he did it. He made that the funniest Christmas ever.
Indeed, but not... No.
So, who did you say the director was?
Ken Shapiro.
So this is what.
And what did you say his address was?
So this is what did it for Ken Shapiro. Like, it seems like this was his last movie. Like, this was it. This was what did him in.
Would you give him another shot?
I would
Either
not.
that or he finally fulfilled his goal. It's like, well, I did it. I did what I set out to do. Doesn't get any better than this.
He also helped write this.
He did.
This had a writer.
It says he's known for The Groove Tube, which I've never heard of before, which has a 5.7 star rating on IMDb, whereas Modern Problems has a 5.0.
Out of what?
See.
Like 100?
It looks like, yeah, he hasn't done... Wow, this is very strange. All right, so I'm looking at his IMDb page. He has absolutely nothing. The most recent thing that he did was this, I think.
Yeah, you said what his other works were, and when you listed off his other works, you went backwards in time. You went backwards to the 70s and 60s. So
and that was his directorial works. As a writer, let's see, as an actor, he was in The Groove Tube, and he was in something in 1982 called The Discipline of D.E., which was a short, as the narrator. but he has a 2024 writing credit on something called Poems Without Words.
He just didn't do anything for 40 years?
Oh, it's a collection of shorts. So it's a collection of short films. So clearly it's just so it's a bunch of older work. All right, so it's not anything new that he did. Is he still alive? Nope, he died in 2017.
Well, good.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't
Sweet Jesus.
I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the what's his name? Ken Shapiro?
Ken Shapiro.
I'm sorry to the family of Ken Shapiro.
I just wow.
You just lost us another listener.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like this was it for him. After Modern Problems, he stopped being a modern problem. Let's see. There's a trivia here. Uncomfortable in the corporate structure of studio and TV networks, Shapiro left Hollywood after his film Modern Problems, eventually settling in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Seminal film writer and director Ken Shapiro, oh, that's being pretty bold, passed away quietly at his home on November 18th, 2017, after a valiant struggle with cancer. Though the transformative impact of his comedic point of view continues to ripple in current culture, does it now? Life and Ken Shapiro were not friends, more like worthy adversaries, drawing strength and purpose in combat. It was pretty much a draw, and life misses him already.
Well, look, maybe we need to watch the Groove Tube to see if this guy, what this guy's all about, because this movie that we watched, Modern Problems, did not work. Like,
It's being compared to Kentucky Fried Movie and Amazon Women on the Moon.
By who?
By the internet. Do you know Kentucky Fried Movie and Amazon Women on the Moon?
I would argue that those movies are watchable.
I would also argue that those
not this movie.
Oh.
The Groove Tube.
The Groove Tube.
Oh,
I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't like. Maybe you know, maybe this guy's comedy didn't jive with Chevy Chase, and they were at each other about how to do this. And
Chevy Chase was in the Groove Tube.
Was he now?
I don't mean to shoot down your hypotheses here, Paul.
I
know
this did not work, and I don't know what could have been different to save it. Like, this was a mess.
There were so many good pieces. There was a lot of good stuff here. It didn't work, but there was a lot of good stuff. Like, if everybody here had gone on to do great things after this, and this was everybody's first thing out, I'd be like, yeah, I see it. You know, Chris had mentioned that opening scene felt like Airplane.
Yeah, that opening scene with just a bunch of ridiculous things happening in the air traffic control center. Because I had no knowledge of what this movie was going to be when we started watching it. So it starts off and there's a bunch of absurd things happening in an air traffic controller room, and guys making sandwiches and confusing the sandwich order with talking to somebody on the radio. I'm like, all right, I can get behind whatever this movie's going to be. Let's do this. This is going to be funny. And then it just meandered. After that, it just turned into, well, there's not going to be any likable characters at all. Nobody's even remotely likable. And then what was it, like 45 minutes in, we get to the central plot point of him getting superpowers?
Yeah, it was a half hour into the movie.
There was a weird scene in the beginning, not the very beginning, but before he gets the superpowers, we're like, he goes to a restaurant for a couple minutes, doesn't eat, looks around the restaurant, kind of makes eyes at some girl, and like everybody in the restaurant starts looking around, and then he leaves, and then he walks up and he talks to a mannequin. And you could say, well, it was a plot point. They were trying to move the plot forward, because none of it was very funny. Except, like, he almost has, like, an epiphany moment, and, like, he seems to be saying the right thing to the mannequin, and then he goes home and says the exact opposite thing. And I don't know, it just felt like 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes of movie that was just not overly funny. There was no joke they were really getting at. And it didn't get us anywhere. I'm like, why did we do this? They jammed so much into that opening scene. There was just background jokes, Airplane style, just happening. And then even during the opening credits, they gave you some funny crap with, not hysterical, but opening credit jokes, like he's driving and funny things are happening to him while he's driving or whatever. Well, not hysterical, but it's wasted time. You're playing the opening credits, fine. So, and then it kind of fell apart. No.
Sorry. I was so like I clocked the same thing about that first scene that was like Airplane, but like it made me think maybe it was just like, because this came out like a year or two after Airplane, like it made me think that maybe it felt like it needed to compete with that movie, because while it was similar in that it was an air traffic control room and there was weird things happening, it was like, like Airplane is absurd, and like the background jokes are intelligent and weird. Like this was just a mess. Like it was like there was like homeless people walking around the air traffic controller. There was like a hot dog vendor. Like it didn't make any sense. And I think as the movie went on, I was like, what does this have to do with air traffic control at all? Like, I think in the trailer, it was even like, Chevy Chase is an air traffic controller. It's like, there was 2 scenes. Like, he could have been, he could have been a garbage
vacuum
man. He could have been anything, So, like, the air traffic control thing seemed really out of place and weird. But then, like, as it went on, and especially in the beginning of this movie, like, we're seeing, I don't know, I guess it was like Chevy Chase. All right, so I think what it was like you were not just seeing him be like act like a sad sack, like you were seeing like sad things happen to him. You know what I mean? Like he was, like he was supposed to be this character where he was getting emotionally beat up by everybody, and then like I think we were seeing these scenes where like life was beating him up, like where he's stuck behind the truck full of chickens and the rain starts falling on him, and then he dodges those kids key in his car, but then the pipe scrapes his car. Like I think we were just supposed to see him getting shat on. And then as far as like him being an emotional sad sack, I think because it's Chevy Chase, he's just such a confident seeming guy anyway that like it didn't work, like it didn't, I don't know. It didn't, the 2 ideas somehow didn't jive for me.
I'm trying to think if I remember a time of him playing a sad sack. And I think maybe you're right. Maybe that's just not something he can pull off. Like, I guess Griswold is a little bit of a sad sack, but not really. He's still got some confidence. He's still got a lot of positives in his life. He gets frustrated, but he's not playing the Rick Moranis. He's not,
right,
the downtrodden.
And like sometimes, like in Caddyshack, like I don't want to use the word like incompetent, but like he does there are weird off the wall things that he does and says or whatever, where it's a little bit like, oh, that guy, but he's overly confident in those movies, like it's and even like Fletch, right? Like Fletch,
or Three Amigos, or Spies Like Us. He's especially Spies Like Us. He's got lots of undue confidence.
I think that's part of what makes Chevy Chase's comedy work, is that the character he's playing is overconfident. So then the antics that ensue are heightened because, he fails so hard, but he's so confident about it.
Right.
So listen, this is great that we've been talking about the beginning of the movie, because we usually charge in and we just start talking about any part of the movie, but I really think that this movie can be broken down into 5 parts. and
I think 57 parts.
And those 5 parts coincide with the texts that I sent you while you were watching it, but also the texts that I wanted to send you, but didn't, because I didn't want to like text bomb everybody on the text thread. So those, I think here are the 5 parts of when I texted or when I would have texted. Part 1 is, this is boring and I hate it. Part 2 is this a superhero story? Question mark. Part 3 is, wait, this isn't a superhero story. This is a supervillain origin story. Part 4 is, wait, now it's a horror movie where Chevy Chase is the monster and they're all trapped in a house with him. And then the last part is, fuck you, Sean. This fucking sucked. Zap sucked. You're not allowed to pick movies anymore.
I think you summed it up pretty good. It's not 5 parts. It's 5 movies. Like that first section that we've been talking about, where he's an air traffic controller having relationship problems. That's the movie Modern Problems. That's a well-titled movie, And that movie stopped happening a half hour in.
And based on the title and the beginning, I thought that was the whole movie. And that's why I was like, this is boring. Like, I was like, oh, these are his modern problems? Like, I hate this.
Right. I sadly, I think that might have been the best part. But okay. I wasn't thinking I hate this during that part necessarily. But then, a half hour in, They hit him with superpowers. Toxic waste all over him. He's glowing green, and he finds out superpowers. So then the next 20 minutes of the movie is like a learning my powers superhero movie, like you said. And that wasn't good at all. That was terrible. It was the worst. Like, nothing that happened there made sense. The powers were ill-defined and seemed to keep changing. He didn't seem... Like, he just went on about his day at first. Like, he did a bunch of stuff, and he was like, oh, superpowers. Well, let me go to work. It's like, wait a second, what? It wasn't very funny.
No, that was one of the first things I wrote down was, is something going to happen? Did this comedy forget to be funny?
Right. And
also, Chevy Chase really liked wearing those shorts, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know where that was supposed to go. If it was just supposed to move the plot along, they took too fucking long doing it. Then, when you get to the third part, I think they had an opportunity to bring this thing back, right? When he starts becoming the bad guy, it started to get a little over the top. And if they had hit the gas pedal a little bit more, I think they could have turned it back into a comedy, a functioning comedy. And they didn't. And it was just him being a jerk. And you're like, I don't like this guy. He's creepy and an asshole. Not that I cared about any of the other characters. And that went on for a good long time. And then it did turn into a horror movie. And I feel like, again, they had an opportunity when they pull up to that house and for some reason he looks up and it's in black and white. And then they go inside and his face is all pale and like he's doing poltergeist shit. Like, if they had hit the gas pedal there, again, I think they could have brought this back into a good comedy place. There was a lot of opportunities there for jokes. But they didn't. They just kind of meandered through. And then they tried to have some sort of closure at the end. That's the part that's fuck you, Sean, and fuck this stupid movie. They tried to wrap up all the different threads and put it back together. But there wasn't any threads worth picking up to tie together because none of it really worked up to that point. But again, they had so many pieces. Like, there were so many pieces in here that were good. Brian Doyle, man's a genius. I laughed at him multiple times, even though it was clear nobody was writing him any jokes, and the movie around him was terrible. Like, his reaction to certain things, he was like, when they're sitting at the table, he's like, so we better get going if we're going to catch that movie. Like, his timing and delivery was brilliant.
I also found it completely hilarious that that guy was his boss in Christmas Vacation, and that actor is 2 years younger than Chevy Chase.
That's true. He is
in Christmas Vacation. I never imagined that guy was younger than Chevy Chase. I just always pictured him as older.
Well,
That kind of blew my mind that he's younger than him.
he was in Caddyshack also. He ran the Caddyshack, right?
Yeah. He was the caddy boss or whatever.
Wasn't he? God, he was. I want to say Wayne's World. Was he in that?
Yeah, he was. He was Noah's Arcade.
Noah's Arcade. That was it. Yeah, I know. I know. I've seen him in a ton of things. But
he's Bill Murray's brother, Brian Doyle Murray.
Yeah.
And
he's
great. Know that?
Oh yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I did know that. He goes by Doyle, which is their mom's name. I don't know why he goes by Doyle, which is their mom's name, but Doyle's a fine name. I think. But yeah, he is as good as he ever is, and he's great. I love him. I think he's absolute comic genius, and he's great in it. He's got multiple parts where, like, literally they're giving him nothing to work with, and he's mining out a little nugget of humor. Well, so he's wonderful.
Look, I think that's a testament to him as to, how much you liked him in this, Sean, because, like, I would not only argue that they gave him nothing to work with, like, I felt like the whole concept of his character made absolutely no sense. Like, like, I feel like he was put in the movie to be I don't know, sounding board for Chevy Chase, like to be the buddy for somebody to, like, to unload all this stuff about, like, this happened and that happened. And now I have powers and whatever. But when we meet him, like, he and Chevy Chase or whatever Chevy Chase's character's name is, they're meeting again years later, and they were former high school friends. So, like, it was there was, like, this weird scene where he's got to, like, meet him all over again, and then by the middle of the movie they're like buddy, and by the end of the movie he's going to spend the weekend at this house, which I don't even know what to say about that house. But yeah, it was just really strange.
It's a very good example of an extremely overwritten yet somehow underdeveloped character, because you're right, for some reason they make it his sounding board is going to be his best friend for the rest of this movie, somebody he just re-met after a long time, who then 2 seconds later is sleeping with his ex-wife that he's still friends with, and then, like, a minute after that is bringing him to some party where he's unhappy, and then, like, a minute after that they're spending the weekend together at his horror house. Like, And for some reason, he's a Vietnam vet in a wheelchair, and they just kind of, like, real quick, let me tell you the story of how I lost my legs. And it wasn't really funny, and, like, it was like, why did we put that in there? Like, what purpose did that serve? And then the rest of the movie, there was, like, random ramps around into the house and stuff that there wasn't enough ramps that he could have got in there, but, like, you did a lot of work to develop this part of this character, but it didn't do anything. It wasn't meaningful in any way. And then he was also really good at basketball and also ran his own business, and also, like, there was just a lot going on with that character for no and he had a maid who was a witch doctor, and, like, it was just like, why are we doing this? Why? Where was this going?
I don't want
it wasn't.
I don't want to skip too far ahead into the stuff that happens at the beach house, because I want to make sure we hit the multitude of things that this movie goes through before that. But I wrote down the thing about the ramp too. I looked at that house with that ridiculously steep, janky ramp, and I went, they got this location, they started setting up their shots, and somebody looked at it and was like, how's it make any sense that Brian Doyle Murray is in here with a wheelchair? And then they went, somebody build a ramp real quick. Like,
somebody was carrying the wheelchair up the stairs, and they were like, wait a second, this isn't good, because if you watch it, there's, like, you've got to walk upstairs to get to the ramp. There's like where they park the car, you've got to go up like 6 steps, and then there's like a little path, and then the ramp, and it's like, what? But again, why was he even in the wheelchair? Like, not that you can't just have a character be in a wheelchair. You can. And not that you can't just have a character be a veteran. You can. And not that you can't just have a character be good at basketball or own a business or all the other things he was. But there should probably be a reason why you did that. And there wasn't for any of it. Like, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of work. If all that was just to connect to what's the other actor's name? Who's in a bunch of stuff with the mustache?
Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman. Like we could have got to him easier than this. Like you gave me a lot of story for no real reason.
I don't really understand how those two were connected, Brian Doyle Murray and Dabney Coleman. Like I know that they were connected because he introduces him to them at that party that was at a gay bar.
He published Dabney Coleman's last book.
The Vietnam vet guy, Brian Doyle Murray character, published Dabney Coleman's last book.
Yeah.
Got it. And
again,
and then because of that, they're at this party, and Dabney Coleman is invited to this beach house.
Exactly.
That was all so loose, and
it didn't make any goddamn
sense.
And
it seemed like they wanted Dabney Coleman to be the villain, right?
Yeah. And why did Dabney Coleman put that party at the gay bar?
Did he want him to be the villain? Like, I almost thought he was supposed to be comic relief.
I don't know.
I mean, failing miserably at it, but it struck me that we were supposed to find his complete shitheel antics to be funny.
I did like his one line, "I'm a damn good-looking man," something like that.
It seemed like the movie wanted a villain, and it didn't know whether that villain was supposed to be the bald guy that was cozying up to his ex-girlfriend, or if
just disappeared halfway through the movie.
Yeah, or if it was Dabney Coleman.
He was terrible.
Like the movie had not decided which one was the villain, and it just kind of went with both.
I mean, Chevy Chase. I wrote, he's going to kill him during the scene where he gave him a nosebleed, and then he gave him a catastrophic nosebleed that got everywhere inside a restaurant, and then they just changed a couple of tablecloths and were like, we're fine. It's just blood.
So look, that was one of those points where I was like, here we go. Movie's getting back on track. Chris called it before it started happening. He's like, is he going to blow up that dude's head like Scanner style?
I did.
And then I laughed at Chris, and then it started happening. Like, he gave him a little nosebleed. I was like, oh my God, he is. And then it started gushing. And I was like, this is pretty good. And I was waiting for his head to just explode. I was like, this is going off the rails. Now we're talking. And they pulled it back. They should have leaned on that just a little bit more. But that part got to almost Monty Python levels of blood squirting ridiculousness, right? So you've got airplane levels of shenanigans in the beginning. Now we're looking at something that's Monty Python-esque. This movie had a lot of pieces that almost got put together in a way that would have been funny, and it didn't.
Like, to rewind a little bit, him getting hit with the toxic waste, right? So, like, they set up that gag with his sunroof not working, like, breaking earlier. And then he's driving behind this truck that hilariously says, nuclear waste on the side of it or something, like it's a product. And he's driving behind it, and it's just shooting nuclear waste at him, which... like, just pull over or like slow down and not be behind this truck. But he's just like wiping it off like it's water. And I thought, this, in other contexts, this might actually be a kind of a funny physical comedy scene. But it wasn't, because it was in this movie and nothing was funny. But it seemed like a kind of a funny gag to be like, wow, this truck is shooting nuclear waste. Oh no, my sunroof's open. What am I going to do? Like, and it started to be almost funny to think, like, what are they going to give him, superpowers? And then they freaking did. I was like, what the hell? But that scene in particular, I'm looking at it like, okay, the only way that you can shoot this scene and have it make any degree of sense is if you're trying to make it funny, because anyone else on Earth would immediately stop the car and pull over if they got hit by a bunch of nuclear waste shooting out of the back of a truck. But
it might have been funny if in the next scene, instead of superpowers, which we kind of guessed was coming at that point, ridiculously, if he woke up and he was like, I have cancer now. It was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
My superpower is tumors.
This movie got dark. He was like already a sad sack, and then he got cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely hated the dumb faces that he made when he was using his superpower, when he was like subliminally willing these things to happen. And yeah, the scene in the restaurant with the bloody nose, I don't know. It was funny and then it wasn't funny. Like I sort of agree with Sean, like maybe if they just hit the gas on it. But like also I think just conceptually it's a weird thing to make a movie out of, right? Because you've given this guy a superpower. So like it really does feel like the sky's the limit of what he could do, right? Like he could have like taken that restaurant apart brick by brick, you know what I mean? But like that's not something you could do in this comedy movie about the sad sack guy. So instead he had to do like kind of weird, unnerving, spiteful things. So it just I think you had a framework to work in that was very narrow. And that was part of what felt weird about it. But like even when he's giving that guy a nosebleed and stuff like that, like it was unsettling. But at that point I still wasn't like, all right, he's the bad guy, I mean even Spider-Man spends at least a 10-minute montage trying to figure out his powers, jumping off things and looking in the mirror. So I was like, all right, like Chevy Chase should get the same thing. Like he should get a little ramp up. He should be able to experiment a little bit. But when he was at the opera and he like ruined that guy's performance and then maybe, I don't know, blew up his penis, I'm not really sure. That's when I was like, oh, you're the villain of the movie.
I like to believe he killed the bald guy after the bald guy left in the cab. Because, I don't know, what else is there to do with this movie except add your own little fun tidbits? Because, yeah, he blew up that guy's penis. He tripped him, he blew up his penis, and that guy didn't do anything. That guy wasn't even a character in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, he was trying to punish the bald guy that was cozying up to his ex, and he did that by ruining the opera. And it's like, all right, well, ruin something for the guy. Like, don't ruin this poor actor's performance, like... This guy just wanted to do a good job in the opera. And you not only ruined his performance, I think you exploded his penis. Like, I'm not sure what that was that happened, but something in his pants exploded.
And then threw him through first threw him through the top thing. And again, that scene too. Look, there was comedy there. They just didn't set it up right. So the whole time you're just like, oh, what is happening? But like, him going up through there was physical comedy gold in them there hills. They didn't quite find it, like, because the guy jumps up on stage and crashes through the top thing and then comes stumbling back out onto stage and then his penis explodes. Like, there's something to work with there, but they didn't quite manage to pull it off.
They blew it up.
Yeah, they should have pulled it off. Maybe that would have been better.
Popped his nuts.
His dick just separated from his body and floated up through the air, telekinesis style, over the crowd. Maybe that would have done it. I don't know. So yeah, then he's a villain. That section might be the worst section.
Wait, where was it? I guess that was it after the opera that he goes to bed with what's her face, the girlfriend.
Because the bald guy takes her back in the cab. Bald guy leaves, Chevy Chase shows up.
Because that sex scene made me uncomfortable.
That wasn't great.
That was really just I wrote that the music was particularly unhinged during that scene.
And I know it's a comedy, and we're not really worried about reality too much in this movie, but the girl's reaction was just like, she was just like, yeah, this is normal.
This is fine. He was in the other room when it happened, but sure.
It's cool. It's cool. That's how this goes sometimes.
And like, I don't know, further, like I didn't, his character just didn't make any sense. Like, and again, I think this is because Chevy Chase is such a confident seeming personality that then like it seemed like this weird sad sack dude like apologized for a lot of things and like made really off-putting jokes at, like, people would be having fun and then he would like Debbie Downer it. Like I think that was all supposed to be part of the comedy, but like it was uncomfortable as an audience member. It was like he I don't know. He continued to make her have orgasms when they weren't having sex, which seemed like a violation, but I don't know. I guess she seemed cool with it. And then when it was over, like it wasn't even like, "Hey, I shouldn't have done this." It was just like, I don't know. He just was like,
it was super weird because he was like, "Hey," he tells her sort of without getting, I mean, sort of he tells her, and she's like, "It's cool, I don't care." And then he's like, "Nope, I'm depressed." And then he goes into a spiral because like the next scene is them driving up to the beach house, and he's just like suicidally depressed about it. And it's like, why? Why did that happen? He was working this whole movie to get the girl back. He's got the girl back, and now he's like, "Nope." I'm not even sure why he was depressed. He was like, "Nope, I did a bad thing to her." Was he feeling guilt, or he was feeling, I don't know what he was supposed to be feeling. I don't know why he was depressed.
None of it made any sense. Like, you know, I think they thought that it was part of this like sad sack thing that was supposed to be comedic, but like I think you're right. Like suicidal depression is not funny. And that seemed to be like where this guy was at. And then, you know, furthermore, like at this point he has superpowers. Like, again, he's doing some real questionable things with them, but like he has superpowers. Like, he's got nothing to be depressed about. Like, this should
superpowers and the girl.
That should have been the point in the movie where he was starting to turn things around, where he, you know, like where he needed to be on the up and up, and then something external needed to sort of chop him down. You know, like instead he was the one sort of putting himself down.
Yeah, we've all seen Weird Science. Once they have the magic lady, they're happy.
Yeah, totally.
And then the external force comes in and chops them down. This movie got to that point and he got sad. And you're like, why? Why are we doing this? I don't know. And then I really did want it to turn into a horror movie. Once they showed that black and white thing and then he went in there and he started looking like a zombie, I was like, is this going to get... Then I was like, are they going like Burbs? Like, where are we going? Let's do this. And they didn't go anywhere. They just teased.
I'm not sure what I thought of the voodoo lady. Was that?
I mean, I'm sure some of it was probably offensive, I guess. I don't even know.
Was she that like the housekeeper?
In the beginning, she was like running him through the park in the wheelchair. So
yeah, she was like his caretaker / housekeeper, I guess. I don't know.
But then sometimes she wasn't around and he was playing basketball. Like, what does he need a caretaker about?
Yeah, and it seemed like maybe she was a caretaker, and then yeah, she had this room in that house, so I guess she lived there with him. And the room was like all voodoo-y, which I think was maybe racist. I'm not, I guess. I mean, I guess you can have a character that is, you know, a Jamaican voodoo person. Like, that could be, I guess it's a perfectly reasonable thing, but it just seemed, I guess it seemed racist because she was the only black person in the movie.
She did get the line, "Blow us all to white man's hell, and I ain't got time for that," which was kind of amazing.
That was a good line.
But then, like, how come when they all got to the house, then how come Dabney Coleman wanted the room that they were in, and then they had to sleep in her voodoo room?
They didn't make that clear either, other than Dabney Coleman's a jerk. I mean, that's about the extent of the explanation there.
Like, nobody had an air mattress?
And And they needed Dabney Coleman in that room, so we had a good excuse to see his ass.
Yeah, we saw Dabney Coleman's butt.
We sure did. That was a thing that the movie was very adamant that we see.
I'm a damn fine-looking man. I got to look that line up. It was great.
And what happened at the end? I kind of wasn't paying attention. Like
He went up to the roof during the thunderstorm, and lightning struck him while he was holding a TV antenna. So his superpowers traveled through the lightning in the TV antenna and got broadcast on the TV that the voodoo lady was watching. So she absorbed his powers, and he apparently lost the powers, and then she did housework and made toast with his superpowers. The end. Go home. Fuck you.
Oh, that's what I thought happened. So she got his power. It seems so stupid that I thought I must be wrong about that, but I guess I was right. She got his powers. Okay.
So, if you haven't put this together, viewing audience, we weren't fans of this movie. This was a poor movie. We're going to go ahead and give it a down.
Was it better or worse than Zapped?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think it was worse. That's a hard one. They were both offensive. But
Zap was probably more offensive if I had to guess. But the goodness of a movie is not necessarily tied. I've watched plenty of offensive movies that I thought were great. I'm gonna say this was better because at least I can pull out points where I honestly laughed. When in the beginning there was the great line about they're talking the person through getting the dead body out of the pilot's seat. Then he's like, you turn the wheel left, you go left. You turn it right, you go right. Congratulations, you're a pilot. Like, it was a great line, and it made me laugh. Brian Doyle had some lines that made me laugh. Like, I had the blood out of the nose made me laugh. There was honest points in this movie when I honestly laughed and chuckled. There wasn't enough of them to justify an 1.5-hour movie, but they were certainly comedic points that made me laugh. I don't know that I laughed during Zapped. I think I just sat there holding my head in my hands.
Maybe.
Do you remember any? I mean, it's a while ago. Do you remember any really funny jokes in Zapped that made you laugh?
I guess not.
No.
I mean, look, maybe this is maybe me rewriting history. Maybe this is creative history here. But I think I like Zapped better. Like they were certainly both awful and offensive. But like, I think as awful as Zapped was, the happy-go-luckiness of Scott Baio was more watchable than the sad shittiness of Chevy Chase. Like, I think I'm going to go with Zapped, unfortunately.
You know what we should do? This is a homework for everybody. Well, yeah, this is a homework. When we come back next time, look at the first, before we come back next time.
Make us watch both of these movies again?
No, God, no. Never again. Never again. Look at the first set of the alphabet, 1 through 27, because we did a number one, and pick which movie was the best and which movie was the worst. And you might be like, well, it's clearly Zapped, but I'll remind you that first run through the alphabet had Cranked. It had Young Einstein. It had a couple real pieces of crap.
King Solomon's Mines.
And then when we finish the alphabet this time, we'll come up with the worst from the alphabet this time, and then we'll compare the two.
I still maintain that my favorite stretch that we did was King Solomon's Mines. Oh no, JKLM. King Solomon's Mines, Lawnmower Man, Master of the Universe.
Lawnmower Man.
Oh, we were all responsible for one of those.
Yeah,
we all shared the blame there.
That was wonderful.
People are going to think it's a bad movie podcast.
And sometimes
we watch
it is.
good movies. We watch good movies sometimes.
Well, we talked about good movies at the beginning, and then we talked about this piece of horseshit.
All right, I'm done with this. It's dead to me. I'm done with this.
Do not recommend.
Do not recommend.
Don't watch this movie.
Don't listen to my brother-in-law, Keith.
Yeah, Keith, I'm sure you're listening. Look, we love you, Keith. But stop.
Sure, go to the bar he tells you to go to. It'll be a great time. Don't watch the movies he tells you to watch.
So it was just like she put down that voodoo powder and then he just snorted it like the longest line of coke ever and looked at the camera like a crazy person that was coked up out of his mind.
And then at one point he was possessed, which didn't make any sense. Like he was talking in a demon voice and crawling up the walls. But he was depressed a second ago, and now all of a sudden he's doing this because she's trying to rid the demons, and you're like, he doesn't have a demon. I watched him get covered in nuclear waste. There's no demon.
Well,
that's not this movie.
That's what further confused me about it, and why one of my parts of this was like, is this a horror movie now? Is because like when they're in that beach house and they're all sitting at the dinner table, I think it had a similar problem to the nosebleed scene, right? They're all at that dinner table. Dabney Coleman is kind of ribbing him. He's pushing his buttons. He's being the bad guy. And then Chevy Chase uses his powers. And again, with these powers, like the sky is the limit. Like it seems like you could, the power seems to be you can manipulate things with your mind. So like that gives you a lot of opportunities, and you could go really extreme with it, or you could be really weird and petty. And so what he seemed to choose to do was make Dabney Coleman levitate in the air.
Just a little, couple feet.
Yeah, and then freak everybody out. And then I think he levitated over the table, and then he kind of like flipped over and like squished into the food or something.
Yeah, he put his face in the mashed potatoes.
Yeah. So then at that point, everybody's freaked out, and they're like, "Oh, he's possessed, or he's this, or he's that." And at first, I was like, "Is he just playing into that? Is he, is he doing a bit? I guess because everybody thinks that he's possessed." And I don't know. It just got weird. Like from the coke snorting to them going up on the roof. I thought. I thought they knew what they were doing, and that's kind of why I was so hazy about the end of the movie, because I was like, I don't feel like anything here makes sense anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, nope. It's a train wreck.
I hated it.
Agreed.
So listen, there's only one note I wrote down that we didn't talk about, but it was back at the beginning of the movie. This was gross. But I guess it like highlights like how shitty he was, like how shitty the character was. So like it was like he got home from the air traffic control job. He listens to the answering machine. He sits on the toilet. Like he gets the message from her that she has left him, which she leaves on a voicemail. And she was like, I took all my stuff. And she's like, but I didn't take the cat litter because I didn't know how to, or something like that. And the first thing that he decides to do is open the drawer and look to see if she took her diaphragm. Like, you see that part of the movie?
Sure did.
Because that was a thing that happened, just so we're being clear. Like that guy was our lead character. Like, that guy was the guy that we were following for this movie. So... I don't know. Anybody who's listening is like, do I want to watch this movie? Like that's the character that you're following.
We're answering that question. It's a definitive no. We're telling you don't watch this movie.
It's bad. It's a no good. Yeah, that's all my notes.
Yep. Some more notes than anyone's ever taken on this movie, including the writer ever.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
Okay, well, I'm done.
So to find our movie for next week, I looked up. I started doing research into M movies. Next month, I started looking up M movies, and I know what you're thinking. But Sean, why would you do that? But I hadn't gotten there, so I kept looking them up, and then I went back and I listened to our last L episode because I wanted to make sure I wasn't suggesting a movie in the same. Like I want to make sure I wasn't suggesting the same movie I suggested last time. And then right around then, I realized we're not doing M next. We just did M. We're doing N. So then I had to start all over. Just throwing that out there. That's where my brain's at.
Do you know how the alphabet works?
Apparently not. Thought I did. Thought I nailed it. Did not nail it.
Well, what'd you settle on?
Oh, I went with, I'm going to put forth something I don't think Chris wants to watch at all because he doesn't like this genre of movie. But I'm betting he's never seen it. And it's a good movie. And we're in the Halloween times, so a horror movie seemed appropriate. And there's so many horror movies.
Month.
What?
It's October now.
I know, but maybe we'll watch the movie in like 2 weeks and then it'll be Halloween. But whatever. We can watch it a little before we record. Shut up! There's so many good horror movies that start with night. Last time I suggested Night of the Creeps and I got shot down, so I wasn't going to re-suggest that. But you have like Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Comet. There's so many good ones. I'm going with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh.
The first one is a good movie. It's a good movie. Like it's done well. It's probably been 5 years since I've watched it, if I had to guess. So it's not like a forever ago, like I remember it. It's good. The special effects are amazing. It's a coherent story. Robert Englund is great. The movie series, as it goes on, gets more and more ridiculous. And by like the fifth or sixth one, I don't know how you could watch it and not just think of it as a comedy. Like number 6 is absolutely, is it number 6? Whatever one where the kids are high in the van and like, it's just way over the top. Everything that's happening is just absurdist. Like the franchise, I enjoy the whole franchise, but it certainly takes a different path after the first one. The first one's a good movie.
Yeah,
so that's my pick.
You're not wrong. That would be a cool one to pick apart. And I think it gets dismissed a lot because it's a horror movie, but like and it's part of that franchise, and people think of the rest of the franchise, which again I enjoy, but they're definitely terrible. The special effects in it are so fucking cool, and this was before you were doing computer stuff.
Oh yeah, it's all practical.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's my pick, Nightmare on Elm Street.
So, do we have some kind of rule that if somebody proposes something that then we're not supposed to, like, are we not doing previous picks from before?
No,
like,
I just try
that's
not
just
to.
a Sean thing.
That's just a me thing. I don't want to keep showing up with the same movie.
Well,
If you guys don't want to watch it, let's not watch it.
I'm a little worried about my pick because I think Chris proposed it before. I mean, maybe I should just say it.
It's
so
fine.
then,
Yeah,
so then it's,
if we didn't discuss it, then it's still on the table.
And if he proposed it before, that means 2 of you want to see it. Let's do it. I'll watch it.
all right. Well, my pick is The Naked Gun. When this thing started and there was the shitty air traffic shit, and I was like, this feels like it's trying to be funny movies. I was like, maybe we should watch a funny movie that actually has funny stuff in the background. So I was like, Naked Gun, and then I was like, I think Chris said that before, but if there's no rule,
fine.
then that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's definitely no rule.
My pick is The Naked Gun.
All right.
Well, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies ever, which is interesting because my pick was going to be The Naked Gun 33 1/3 because I've never seen that one.
What?
I've seen The Naked Gun more times than I can count. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I rented Naked Gun 2.5 a lot of times when I was a kid. 33 1/3 kind of came out later, and I don't think I just never got around to seeing it. I have no idea if it's any good. I remember the second one being not as good as the first one, but still pretty damn good. So yeah, I was gonna pick that, but since you're picking The Naked Gun, I'm going to go in a completely opposite direction and say I would like to pick The Neverending Story. I have not seen that movie.
You have not seen that movie?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh.
I used to watch it so much when I was a kid. I remember being just utterly fascinating and kind of terrifying. And I remember renting the sequel and thinking, well, this isn't very good. And then I never even sniffed the third one because the second one wasn't very good.
I don't think I knew there was a third one.
Oh yeah, much like the second one, it was a direct-to-video thing, but it was I think they changed the actor on the kid, and I think the third one is supposed to be particularly terrible, but no, I'm gonna go with the Never-Ending Story.
All right.
This is tough. They're all really good picks.
This is tough because I do think I have seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I wound up watching that. I can't remember why. I think it was when I was working at the comic book store. Somebody convinced me to actually watch it, and it was a pretty solid movie. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
I think I watched a couple of them at your house, Sean.
Yeah, we did a marathon there one time and watched all of them straight through. People kept coming in and out.
Yeah, I was there for that because I remember we watched the first one, and then like I think it was. Does the second one start with the people on the school bus and like the school bus? It
sure does. And the second one is by far from the best one. The first one is so good. The second one is absolute trash, both in acting and in story. Like they throw out everything from the first one. The connectivity doesn't make any sense. It's just a jumbled mess that they then spend the next 3 movies trying to like patch back together and repair, And by the time they get it fixed, then they're just like, fuck it, this is a comedy series now.
I marathoned them at one point. I thought they kind of got back on track when which one? Isn't there one where Patricia
Wes
Arquette...
Craven's new Nightmare? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's got what's her face from the first one, but like the one that where they're in the institution and I think Patricia Arquette is the main character. That one was pretty good. I think
that's number 4. Yeah. It is good. Look, I like the series. That's 3 and 4 are good. They're starting to get a little bit more comedic. They're letting Robert Englund kind of run off the rails a bit, which is, again, I enjoy that. And then 5 and 6 are just like way over the top.
I definitely haven't seen the whole series, but I
thought about doing a marathon of it, but we just did a marathon of Karate Kid. I figure we got to space those out a bit.
Yeah, we can't always marathon everything.
Well, I know. That's why I didn't do it.
Appreciate it, because I don't want to watch all of them. All right, well, I guess we should...
Red leader standing by?
Gold leader standing by.
Plaid leader standing by. Actually, no, I'm not.
I was like, you're not. You're clicking on stuff. You're not standing by.
I am sitting by. All right. Yep. Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, fight.
All right, cool.
All right.
Because we need to watch a good comedy after that one. We're going to watch The Naked Gun. And I think I'm going to try to find a way to watch all 3 of them before we do this.
Oh, poor you. You got to watch all 3 Naked Gun movies.
Maybe an episode or 2 of Police Squad.
Oh, I just rewatched Police Squad last year. That show is freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good.
I haven't seen an episode of Police Squad in a long time. I'll try to find one of those.
Maybe we'll do not an unofficial marathon. We'll do all of Police Squad and the 3 Naked Gun movies.
All right. Sounds good.
That's like half as long as the Karate Kid marathon.
But 10 times better?
Well, I mean,
say that
really,
I enjoyed the Karate. Can
you really beat the next Karate Kid?
Well, no. You can't.
I mean, we would be watching stuff that was funny on purpose instead of funny on accident.
Oh, True. Did Cobra Kai come back with the second half of that season?
Not yet. It's November or something, I think.
I'm going to forget all about it and just never watch it. I plowed through that season with a vengeance.
It's all over. The show ended. It's done. Martin Cove went in a cave. There was a snake there. He punched a cobra. That's the end of the show.
Turns out he is the immortal Iron Fist. I didn't see it coming. It's part of the damn MCU again.
All right, everybody. Your homework is to watch The Naked Gun. It's available in many, many ways. It's not a hard movie to get your hands on. So enjoy. And in the meantime, Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network. And if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. You can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, all of which can be found in our show notes. If you'd like early access to this podcast and several others on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out the Geekade Patreon, linked to in the show notes. It helps keep this show running and our site shiny and... oh boy, my script cut off. I'm going to say shiny and clean. That sounds good. Anyway, that's all from us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time in a theater near you.
Blowing me all to white man's hell. I ain't got time for that.